but I don't think it is. Like I feel like it's only get bored.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had a lot of time, so
I just really feel it. There's 2 months because I'm so used to just on the property. Crazy. My friends weren't here, so it's very strange. But
yeah.
it's just kind of nice. I don't know.
Yeah, relaxing.
Yeah, well, I'm studying this in the last section.
I mean, you should do that
Saturday.
Ooh.
My brain's like a mess right now. I just need,
She'll be great.
you have good days and bad days, and today was a really bad day, so I'm kind of like.
I'm just trying to do it.
It's so hard. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, are you doing it, or are you just going to try to use that? And you just
Closer to you,
yeah.
and it's.
Oh my God. I hate technology.
Or you can watch it.
I mean, yeah, we're talking about actually could walk through the course today, but
Okay.
you could in theory have it over week 2. Which I was surprised by. I did not think that would be a thing. Though, were you listening to that link?
It's loading.
Oh, you're good, you're good.
There you go. Click.
Yeah, it feels good. Gratification.
Yeah.
Click.
God, I love technology.
It's working. This is literally making me sweat.
Oh, sorry.
All this and we don't meet quorum. I'm gonna cry.
Or so.
Oh.
So weird, everyone's back in the same room again.
Okay, did you get it, Robert?
Not yet. I don't think so.
Wait, okay. It's just like,
No, I get the computer slow.
yeah.
Are you on studio? Wi-Fi?
Oh. The real link I'm about to send to council to join. Okay.
It's so slow. Wait, did you press enter?
Yes.
Wait, we already have a Google link happening.
I don't know if that one is it.
Oh, you said it again.
Oh.
Let me make sure.
Oh, I hear people. Oh, wait. It's the second one that I sent.
Oh, I'm on it, right? Oh, wait. There's like 2 different.
Yeah. Okay. Serena and who is that? Ryan?
You're in the one that you're not on, just if you have.
Join the one that I just sent, the old one.
Yeah, so in one of them. And then the other one is, am I on that one?
Yes, you're on the right one. Okay, so now I'm gonna send the YouTube.
And then you said the laptop is on the table this time?
We've been doing it wherever.
Throwing her out.
Yeah, a little bit here, a little there. Okay, we are almost there, Robert.
She's a slow one.
She is slow one. Okay, come on. Okay, she's working fast. Here we go. Come on. Okay, it has been done.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
Claire, will you put in the group me, yeah, the second link.
I was literally texting you about your USAC. Wow. Oh, what's spooky? We've been having technology difficulties. Oh, cool. So I really just now you just said it. Great. Do we see it?
Is anyone allergic to peanuts? Peanuts and nut. Thank you.
Still. Serena was on the first one, right? I just know she was.
Should I like message her? Or just give it a minute?
Maybe not. It's not working. Oh, Jessica's here. Hello, Jessica. Wonderful. We have a corner, everyone. All right. I call this meeting to order at 7:16 p.m. We're going to send around the attendance sheet. All right. And I don't believe that we have minutes from our past few meetings, so we're just going to wait until we have them sent to us to vote on them. So with that, we're going to move into the approval of the agenda. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
I'd like to strike the UP officer.
You too. Dave, do you want FSCs?
Yeah.
Yes, sure.
Right, two
Door two and
EDP, FSC.
no, you want FSC. Okay. Any other amendments to the agenda?
The presentation does come into about.
Yes.
Can we add those to the?
We can put them within your officer member report if you want. Yeah, just do that. Great. Awesome. Yeah, we can share them with all of us. That would be awesome. Okay. Any last amendments? Oh, we're striking the TSR. And with that, remind the amendments are striking EDP officer member report, agenda 2, and TSR report.
Sorry, I meant can we strike that?
Oh, you did want to strike it. Oh, okay, sorry. And FSC as well. Great. Okay, with that, is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Thank you, George. Is there a second? Robert, cool. Okay, George and Robert. Okay, but we'll call the vote. Beginning with IUP.
Yes.
EUP?
Yeah.
Sorry, sorry. I'm gonna cross it even. Give me like a thumbs up, thumbs down. Gen Rep 2?
Yes.
AAC?
Yes.
CEC?
Yes.
And we don't have that one here. CAC? Oh, for Wi-Fi.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, Bro and Bash basically, but I mean, it's going to be the same as Allie's update, so I'll just.
Oh, yeah.
just-
I was just talking about on the agenda.
Okay, great. Also, I don't know if you saw my GroupMe message, but it's cutting out frequently, so you might have to like beckon me a couple times.
Okay, no worries. So,
Okay.
votes on the agenda, yes or no for you? To approve the agenda?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool, thanks. Back, Julie, are you here?
Yes.
Cool, thank you. SSBC, sorry. SBC?
Yes.
TSR?
Yes.
Okay, I vote 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 900, the motion passes and the agenda is approved as amended. Okay, we're gonna move into public comment. I don't believe there's any public comment. Abby, are you giving public comment? No? Okay. We don't know, okay. So it appears we do not have public comment tonight. That's all right. So without further ado, we are going to move into appointments. So we have 2 appointments for tonight, both the judicial board appointees for this year. One, Karina is physically joining us, and then one, Ellen, will be electronically joining us once we finish Karina's. As is custom, I'm going to go ahead and read the appointment position description, as I've been doing, although of course you all know what J-Board does. Also joining us tonight is Chief Justice Abigail Chapman, who can answer any questions that y'all have about J-Board's functionalities, specifics of the past few years, anything like that. Is there anything you want to add, Abby, about that, or?
No, she's good.
Great, thank you so much for being here, we really appreciate it. Sorry, I'm just pulling these up. Great. So hopefully you've all an opportunity to review both Karina and Ellen's resumes and applications. And without further ado, okay, the position description is pretty short, but this year there's 2 openings and the term is through graduation. The judicial board is the judicial branch of the Undergraduate Students Association. J-Board justices review petitions for hearings, hear cases, and determine constitutional issues. 7 positions appointed for the duration of their tenure as UCLA undergraduate students in good standing to a maximum of 4 years. Wonderful. Are there any questions about that appointment in particular before we move into Karina's hearing? Okay. Then Karina, thank you for joining us. I'm going to ask if you would mind standing over by the mic over there. Just because sometimes the folks who are not here can hear you better. Great, and then,
If you
oh,
press the
turn it on.
If you can. Well, the button will then become red once you press that.
Hello? Perfect, just want to make sure we can hear you. And whenever you're ready, you'll have about a minute to give an opening statement.
Hi, my name is Karina Colton-Schneider. I'm a senior here at UCLA and I'm a political science major and history minor. I'm applying for this position as a judicial board justice to inform students about the venue for legal action that the judicial board offers for students, how to file a petition for consideration, how court procedures occur, such as dates for hearings and other venues and activities that occur during the court procedures. In addition, I also would like to know more about the issues occurring here within the campus community, and I want to apply for this position to represent the interests of students through upholding their legal rights in a court of law. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any questions for Karina?
Is this our only chance to ask questions to Karina?
Yes.
Okay, then I have a question. How were you involved in elections this year, or did you remain uninvolved, I guess?
So during elections, I was in DC for the UCDC program. Therefore, I was not involved with elections activities on campus. I did vote in elections, but I voted through the online website. Other than that, I did not get involved in any election activities.
Could you maybe speak a little bit about your role as student member at UC Davis?
So at Davis, I was a commissioner on the External Affairs Commission, which is where we would review bills concerning different issues that occurred not only within the university, but also in the overall community of Davis. We addressed issues such as student housing and different events such as a rock concert. And in my position, I would review bills that were presented by representatives, making sure that the wording was written in a way that's comprehensible and legal according to the bylaws and the UC Davis Constitution. Other than that, I was also staffed for a senator there, which is kind of like a representative here, and I was working on some of his campaign promises. He wanted to improve student engagement on campus, especially our sports culture, so I was working with administrators on improving our tailgate culture, and also working on other issues like student housing, as I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, just to know, for those of you who haven't had a chance to review the application, Karina is a transfer. She did her second year at UCLA from UC Davis. So, any specific questions about this? I guess to build on that, what perspective do you believe you've gathered from your experience at UC Davis, your transfer, your other involvements outside of school as well that you believe make you fit for this position?
So first I'll address what I've learned from my student government experience. Through my position as a commissioner, I was representing the interests of all students at Davis, in addition to the interests of the community at large. Therefore, I was engaging and discussing issues with communities I've never met with before, and seeing how to pursue their interests in the way that student government can represent not only their concerns, but how their concerns can be applied to the student body overall. And it was interesting learning how to discuss with different communities, but also use my position to make sure that student government can apply their responsibilities, making sure that student government is involved with applying, teaching students about how the bylaws and how the Constitution can work in their interest and how to pursue their actions. On regards to my other experiences outside of student government, I've had 2 legal experiences that are relevant towards this position. First, I was a legal intern for Governor Jared Brown. I was working in his executive clemency department, working specifically on paroles, where I had the opportunity to write a parole decision, where the California Constitution allows the governor to grant parole to certain applicants after a process of review. And if certain criteria are met, then he is allowed to be the final decision to grant parole. But if criteria are not met according to the law, then he has the power to strike down parole. So I was using my position to research into psychological report of inmates, into the board of parole hearings and their transcripts, and applying that to the parole decision that I wrote for one specific applicant in general, where I would apply the law to the facts of the case to see how the criteria, to see if the criteria of the law were met. So in this specific case, for the specific inmate that I was working on, I looked over the psychologist's report and the transcripts, and I saw that the criteria for parole were not met. So in drafting this decision for the governor, I made sure to apply the law to the facts of the case in the fact, making sure that only the relevant factors were addressed, making sure that the writing was concise and clear so that all parties could understand the decision, and making sure that the governor himself would approve of what we were trying to argue for his decision, and he ultimately approved my argument for rejecting this inmate for parole. The second experience I had was at this organization called the National Whistleblower Center, which I participated in during my UCDC program. There, the organization was a mixture of a law firm and a public policy group, where I would, on the legal side, represent whistleblowers in court who wanted to remain anonymous, making sure that their rights were upheld and that their interests were also pursued. So we were representing clients who wanted to remain confidential because they were fearful for their life, and trying to make sure that the judges and the justices that were reviewing the cases would consider the facts of the case and apply the law. On the public policy side, we were arguing that the laws we were applying to represent the interests of our client. were strong, but there were certain factors that were not very helpful in our pursuit to represent their interests. So we were attending congressional hearings and attending different conferences saying that we need these laws to be made stronger to make sure that the interests of our clients were represented in the court of law. How I can apply this to my position here as a justice is through these experiences, I've learned how not to only use my position of leadership to represent the interests of all students, but also to make sure that the most important role of a justice is applied, to make sure that the law is applied to the facts of the case in a way that is just, in a way that all parties, both the respondents and the petitioners, are addressed in a way that is impartial, and to uphold standards of confidentiality, making sure that every right is upheld in a just manner.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I have a question again.
Yeah, Serena, go for it.
I feel like this is going to be a scandalous question, but what is your opinion on the way J Board handled the voting scandal?
So, before I answer that, I just want to preface that I was not here when that occurred. So, from what I understand is, what I understand about the situation is when I was reviewing over the cases and the decisions of the J Board. So, what I understand is that there was a lack of communications between the Elections Board and the Judicial Board, and that is unacceptable because these are branches of the USAC. Of the council that should be in constant communication throughout the year, not during election season, but continually per quarter, multiple times per year. So I do believe that there is a need for further communication between these two boards to make sure that the rights of students are protected, make sure that the law is applied in a just manner. And I do believe that the J Board tried to uphold their responsibility of applying the law to the facts of the case and try to be impartial and non-biased. And the most important thing to pursue in the future cases of conflict of interest is to make sure that there's constant communication rather than having these situations appear at the end of the school year when elections occur. Make sure that there's a constant line of communication so that these issues do not occur again. And constantly remind justices what their role is during election season, which is to make sure that the rights of students are protected and to make sure that the law applies to each case and not consider any factors other than that.
What types of cases other than enrollment promotion do you think the J Board might handle? Are you familiar yourself with past cases that did not involve elections?
So one power of the Judicial Board is to review constitutional issues. So if students come to the Judicial Board and say that the bylaws or the Constitution has certain wording that needs to be clarified or there's problematic aspects of the law, the role of the Judicial Board is to review the law to make sure that it is just. And if it's not just, then the role is to strike down the law, send the law or the provision considered to the legislative branches to rewrite and reconsider. So those are the other issues that I believe the Judicial Board has the right to address.
Based on your research, do you know if that's ever been something the Judicial Board has been asked to do?
I believe so. I cannot name any specific cases, but I do believe that during the last election season, there were certain words and provisions that were addressed or brought to the Judicial Board with a petition for consideration about clarifying the elections code and other provisions. So I do believe it is within the Judicial Board's power to review issues of constitutionality as well.
Any other questions?
I have one more question.
Sure, go for it.
Okay, your resume says that you're also the president of a sorority, so I just want to know how you plan on balancing your priorities next year.
Sorry, I didn't hear the last part of that.
I just want to know how you plan on balancing your priorities next year. I'm sorry.
So I am no longer the president of the sorority. I ended when I did my UCDC program. I will be the treasurer of my sorority, but I will not have the responsibilities of the president. My time commitment for the sorority is about 5 hours per week. And it is a commitment where I'm able to not only balance my studies, but also get involved in extracurricular activities. I believe that I will have the time to participate in judicial board activities because there are meetings every other week, in addition to continually refining skills and throughout the judicial board meetings. I believe I'm able to handle my coursework and my extracurricular activities in a way where it's not impacting my role as a justice, and if there's any proof of that is through my experience at UC Davis, where I was part of 2 extracurriculars, both the Student Alumni Association and Student Government, and was still able to uphold my responsibilities for this position, but still maintain engagement in my school activities and also campus activities in general.
Any other questions?
Assuming you'd like familiarize yourself with past cases, are there any judicial board cases that you would disagree with their outcome and why?
Well, I wouldn't say there's any specific case that I disagree with. I would say that there's only one thing that I think should occur more often is that the judicial boards should review issues of constitutionality more often, because the role of the judicial board is to clarify what the law is, and I do not feel that enough judicial board cases reflect analysis of the law. And I'm not sure if that completely answers your question, but just to I'll give you an answer. No, I don't disagree with any decisions, but I do believe that there's a need for certain other types of cases that should be addressed.
Anyone else? Let me just ask. Right here. Give our electronic representatives to respond to this. All right, well, then if there's no more questions, then could you please review your opening statement, or your closing statement? Wow, it's that. Your closing statement, please.
On the Supreme Court.
It's okay, you don't need to. All right.
On the Supreme Court building, there's a phrase, equal justice under law. As a justice for the judicial board, this is my utmost responsibility, making sure that the law is applied in a just manner, that all students' rights are addressed if they come to us with petitions for consideration. In addition, my role as a justice is to make sure that students are engaged and aware that the judicial board offers a venue for legal action, making sure that the judicial board not only engages with the campus community, but also engages with the USAC, the student council here, making sure that all branches of the council communicate with each other to address not only the issues facing the overall campus community, but how this position can make sure that the rights are all students are upheld in a manner that is just and represents the interests of all students overall. Thank you.
Feel free to have a seat where you'd like. You can start your meeting at. So that we're going to move into ARC's recommendations and thoughts. So Robert, please start us off.
Yeah, so ARC gave a 3-0 yes for approval on this appointment. So I'll just start off with my thoughts. My biggest hesitancy with this appointment was really just, I think, a lack of familiarity with like specific cases, the specific problems that occurred last year, and how to go about addressing those. That being said, obviously you're a transfer, and I think for being a transfer and for you being away in UCDC, I don't think it's fair necessarily to blame you for not like knowing all those nitty-gritty details. And I think aside from that, you do have a lot of experience to be able to effectively carry out your position on judicial board, which is why I voted yes, and why I'll be voting yes probably today too. So that Ali, another voting member, is particular appointment?
So I think that certainly there's a little bit of room to grow just in terms of familiarizing yourself with how the judicial board operates on UCLA's campus. But I think that something that was really unique is that Karina has so much vision and ambition for what the judicial board can be. And I think it really related to what we heard Abigail and the other member of the judicial board who came and gave us that presentation earlier in the summer. Their kind of vision for enhancing where J-Board stands now. And frankly, reading a little bit of agency, and I really think that when we spoke to Karina, we saw that her vision really aligned with that. And I just think it showed really great principles that we really want to move forward.
Jessica, she was present, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so for Karina, it's pretty much the same thing. Karina just has really great experience, especially not within campus politics as UC Davis, and she also has just great experience, especially at her internships, especially at the National Whistleblower Center. And overall, I think her being a transfer too, I think her already looking to the future to bring up to council. I know she, at the end of the interview, brought up a question about individual cases and looking at individual cases, and I think that initiative was something that I really admired. So I said yes.
Thank you so much, ARC. Is there any other discussion on Karina's appointment, or is there a motion on the table?
A motion to appoint Karina to judicial board.
Wonderful, so a second.
I'll second.
Thanks, Jamie. Okay, local roll call beginning with IVP.
Yes.
EVP.
Yep.
General 2. Yep. AAC. Yep. CBC.
Yes.
CAC.
Yes.
Thank you. DAC.
Yes.
SBC.
Yes.
And TSR.
Yes.
Great, by a vote of 9 to 0 to 0, the motion passes, and Karina is appointed to the judicial board. So I will be in contact with you regarding paperwork, next steps, and I'm sure Abby will be in contact as well. Thank you, so, and you're free to go if you'd like, yeah. Thank you so much for coming here. Have a good night. Perfect, okay, let's.
Did you send the handout link to the?
Yeah, I just texted her. So Ellen is in the process of joining. I hope her power's back on. Earlier today, we were on a hangout and her power went out. So hopefully it's back on. Wait for a second for her to join.
Claire, just for correction, who motion is decided?
Robert and Jamie.
Thank you.
Of course. I have notes too. That helps. I can send them to you. Okay, she's joining now.
Hello. Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm glad your power is back on. That's good.
Sorry, what was that?
I'm glad your power is back on.
Yeah, I know. It was out for a while though. It was out for like an hour almost.
Okay. Well, whenever you're ready, if you want to start us off with your opening statement, that would be great.
Hi everyone. My name is Ellen Park, and I'm a rising second-year political science student. I'm very excited for this opportunity to serve as a justice for the judicial board, and I believe that my past experiences, especially my experience in mock trial, allows me to be a qualified candidate for this position. And if I did get this position, I really knew that I would be a voice of accountability, impartiality, and transparency. I'm really excited for this opportunity to talk to you guys about my vision for the judicial board and to answer any questions. was.
I can't tell what they're speakers.
Sorry, we're trying to work out the sound system here.
You're good.
Is that making a difference? I think so.
Yeah. Hopefully the audio will work. If not, we'll go from there. I can always give her a call and we can work that out. Any questions for us? Yeah, Dr. Geller.
Ellen, based on whatever research you have done into board, what kinds of matters do you think that the judicial board might be asked to weigh in on?
Sorry, I couldn't hear the first part of the question.
Let's text her. Ellen, I'm gonna call you because you got the name weird.
Sorry, what was that? Sounds good.
Ellen, can you mute your mic on the Google Hangout?
Yes.
Thanks.
We love technology, everyone. Hello. Okay, we're gonna make this work.
Okay, should I pop off?
If you want to be there, it's totally fine. Just keep your microphone muted.
Okay.
Well, she should be so other council members can ask her a question too on the Google Hangout. The other council members that are virtual. Yeah, she stayed on.
Oh, okay. Cool. So Dr. Gunn just asked a question. Do you want to repeat it maybe so you can hear better?
I don't know if she'll be able to hear me.
Oh, I can repeat it, sure. So the question was, I don't know this on my phone. Okay. The question was, what sorts of matters the judicial board generally addresses, based on your research and what you've done, what sorts of cases does the J board hear, maybe some specific instances that you can point to.
Yeah, of course. So the judicial board would generally just share any cases regarding the USAC constitution or the bylaws. So I think in the past, a lot of it has been issues that have been brought up during the election and during specific sanctions or things that are violations of the election code. I think outside of that, it could even be something like if they feel that a specific platform or initiative that maybe the council is pursuing is at the stake of other students and it's at the stake of other students' rights, then the judicial board would also hear cases such as that.
I guess to the ball rolling more, what are some perspectives that you think that you bring to this position, and what are some things you'd like to accomplish in your 3 years on the board?
I think my perspective that I would bring to this position is first my experience in mock trial, and I think that gives me the legal foundation and knowledge for this position. So, for example, the rules of evidence that are used during judicial board proceedings are the exact same ones that we have to learn, understand, memorize, and be able to use on the spot during mock trial competitions. So I already have that legal foundation and knowledge that I bring that and further develop that through my position on the judicial board. And I think another perspective is that if I was appointed this summer, then I would be able to serve 3 years at the judicial board, which means that I would have 3 years to learn from the judicial board, but I would also be able to acquire more knowledge about past cases and the Constitution and specific case laws and be able to reference that throughout my time on the G board.
Yeah, Robert.
So you were involved on in USAC offices last year, and you were involved on USAC campaigns too, like we talked about in your ARC review. How much of a role, I just kind of want you to go in more detail about how much of a role these past involvements will play in your decision making, and how you'll ensure that you will take an unbiased approach.
I do not think that these past positions will bias me in any way. Full disclosure, I did a fellowship for the USAC EDP office, and through that fellowship, I came to work on a USAC campaign. And I think it was great because as a first year, I was exploring all of my opportunities here at UCLA, and it was a good way for me to get introduced to USAC and figure out, how exactly does it work, what roles both officers and committees play. And I'm not going to, I'm under no illusion that I somehow don't have any opinions or thoughts. However, I think acknowledging and recognizing that is what allows me to be impartial as a justice on the judicial board. It's recognizing that I, as a student, as a person, I am going to have my own belief system, but it's recognizing and acknowledging and putting aside my personal beliefs that allows me to be an impartial justice and take a step back from what I believe in order to do what the law dictates.
And to chime in with that, I will say that obviously USAC involvement in the past was something that my team and I definitely scrutinized, but we felt that Ellen's involvement in one fellowship her freshman year, she was exploring her options, and from my understanding, a pretty peripheral role in the campaign wasn't enough to, I guess, prejudice us against her experience and qualifications and vision for the position. I think if we penalize everyone who's ever even stepped a toe into USAC, then we start kind of walking an interesting line. And it was something that was weighted of putting these two together and different perspectives that they brought, the different years that they were, different communities that they were a part of. But I do understand it's not something that gives you all reservations. We just know that it did give my team and I a little bit, but we thought that they could be overcome.
Absolutely.
Any further questions?
What made you want this position specifically? Like, what research did you do that brought you here to us today?
Could you hear that okay, or do you want me to repeat it?
Will you repeat it, please?
Sure. It was Indira, the Academic Affairs Commissioner, and she asked, what makes you want this position specifically, and what research have you done that leads you here today?
What specifically led me to this position is my passion and my interest for the law and specifically for the Constitution. I've been interested in it since high school when I was first kind of introduced to it, and I think really that's what led me here to apply for the judicial board. I think it's a great way for me to delve further into constitutional law and constitutional history, and being able to learn that and being able to apply that and interpret the Constitution is what kind of led me to apply for the judicial board. And I think in terms of past research, like I said before, my experience with mock trials, so through that, it's almost like I've kind of been on the other end of a judicial board hearing, in the sense that I have had to present a case and I have had to go in front of a judge and talk about that. And then as a political science major, I've been introduced to a lot of the constitutional history and past case law and precedents and things like that. And that's honestly, it's just my interest and passion for the Constitution that's led me here today.
And then the research that you did to find this position?
Yeah, she just wanted to hear more about your research.
Yeah, so the research, honestly, it's not one specific instance, but it's really just since I'm interested in it, I research it. So for example, there's this one podcast called More Perfect, and it's really just a very interesting podcast that talks about specific Supreme Court cases and about the precedents that it's set and the significance that is set and the significance of it. And it talks about specific cases, for example, Baker v. Carr, and about how that kind of opened the Pandora's box for the Supreme Court to be able to rule kind of on political issues, and that kind of set precedents for the Supreme Court to be able to become involved in a case such as Bush v. Gore and things like that. And reading articles about the Constitution, about specific cases, and then I also did debate in high school. So like if a certain debate topic was presented, then and it did have like constitutional or legal foundations, then I'd have to look up like specific cases that could apply to help bolster my case.
Any other questions from those in the room?
Based on the research you've done, are there any past judicial board cases that you disagree with their findings and why?
Can you
Yeah, sure. So that was from Jamie. The question was, based on the research that you've done, are there any J-board cases in the past that you disagree with and why?
I don't think, I honestly can't think of one specific case that I wholly disagree with. I think a lot of it also has to do with the specific evidence that they gathered throughout their investigation, throughout their hearings. And I think I would have to look at all of that in order to be able to formulate an opinion on whether or not I believe that the rule was justly. Sorry, my hangout just.
I'm back.
I'm just asking our virtual friends if we have any more questions. All right, if not, then Ellen, would you like to move into your closing statement?
Yeah, of course. So first off, I just wanted to thank all of you guys for your time and for giving me this opportunity to speak to you guys and answer any questions that you have. I'm really excited even just for the opportunity to be appointed for this position, and I guarantee you guys that if I was appointed, I would take the initiative to further learn and grow from my experience as a justice, and to do and take the initiative to learn any additional information that I might have to know about past case law, about precedents, and about the Constitution, so that I can be a justice that is effective and informed. So thank you guys.
Thank you so much. And I'll just leave you on the speakerphone here so you can kind of hear how the proceedings go.
Perfect.
All right, so Robert, if you'd like to talk about ARC's decision and the rationale.
Yeah, it was 3-0 yes for approval with me, Jessica, and Allie as the voting members. So the logic kind of applied the same too as I think with both appointments. We had all just wished there was like more knowledge and context of past events so that they were able to, stay informed on precedent and how to apply that in the future. That being said, I don't think that was enough to prevent her from being appointed, just because of all the history that she has in mock trial, speech and debate, the familiarity with campus politics, and I thought her explanation of how she can be unbiased from that was really good for me. I think that she acknowledges she was involved, and that acknowledgement helps her prevent bias in the future, which I liked a lot. And then her passion as well was really compelling, so I ultimately voted yes.
Thank you, Robert.
Same here. I thought that she was a little green being like a freshman, and like I've only really been involved in like very political science centric stuff on campus, but that's really relevant to J-Board, and I think that she has a lot of time and a lot of room to grow into this role and to learning about it, and she certainly has a passion for it, and in her interview was just like very excited about the opportunity and about she just again had both candidates had or both appointments had a lot of vision for the role, and yeah, so I voted to approve.
Thank you so much, Ellen. Jessica.
Yeah, so for Ellen, I thought she was super passionate, and I think it's pretty evident that her experience with mock trial, both on the high school and college level, would be really helpful, especially with her applying for judicial board justice. But I think her experience with mock trial is enough for me to believe that she is able to distance herself from outside decisions, and even though she was an intern for EVP. And so I think she's super passionate, and I think I honestly didn't see anything wrong with Ellen, so I said yes.
Awesome. Thank you, Jessica. I'm going to take you off speaker because he's talking. Okay. With that, is there any other discussion on this appointment? Or is there a motion on the table?
A motion to appoint Ellen to the judicial board.
Thank you, Robert. Second, anyone? Second. Thank you, Ellen. Okay, local roll call, beginning with IVP.
Yes.
EVP? Yep. Director two? Yes. AAC? Oh. Just gonna. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. CEC? Yes. CAC?
Yeah.
DAC?
Yes.
SWC?
Yes.
And TSR?
Sorry.
Jessica? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, by a vote of 9 to 0, the motion passes and Ellen is approved to judicial board.
I see her smiling.
Yeah, she looks happy. Oh, now she turned off the video.
Okay, wonderful. So we're just gonna do the AAC special presentations under the AAC Officer Member Report. So we will move into officer reports then. All right, I will start. First and foremost, as always, appointments updates. So J-Board obviously is now filled, and applications are still open for e-board, for community service and mini fund. We really not applicants for that. So again, if you know folks that are interested in service and funding, please send them our way. We still have one more seat to fill on CPC. We have a couple candidates, but nobody that we're that we've decided to appoint just yet. So again, more folks interested in service and funding, send them our way. ASUCLA Calm Board are closing on Sunday, 11:59 p.m. I was going to bring up one Calm Board appointment tonight. There was a bit of a delay because I realized that I had overlooked that he was a fourth year. My brain's been kind of fried from the outside. And I wasn't, obviously it's a 2-year term. However, he was really qualified, had a really strong vision, and my director found really confident. So I reached out to the Calm Board student chair and to Doria, the I don't know which director, meeting director, yeah, wonderful, and they were both okay with it after kind of reviewing the situation and understanding our confidence in him. So I will be bringing him forward at the next meeting along with whoever the other Calm Board appointee is. So look out for that for me. And that's really about it. I'm also open for USAC media and publicity share. I believe those are all ones that are open now. And we'll have a few more that we will be opening once school starts, and we'll just have them all out there. So again, would love to get Calm Board full before school starts. Hopefully some folks on CS committee and finish up with CPC. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Any questions about appointments? Yeah. And also we're working on e-board as well, but as of now we don't have any new applicants. So hopefully we'll find some new ones. Okay, and then other things for me, the one thing I want to bring up with y'all was just, I know we've been talking in the group meeting about the statement regarding IFC, but I still haven't received confirmation from everybody that they want to release that, that is something that we want to do. So if we still want to move forward with that, I think again, it's starting to kind of lose a little bit of its timeliness. So if we wanted to do that, obviously sooner rather than later. So again, if it's something you're interested in, just take a minute to review what we've written up, like a message to the group that you're ready to release it, or text me, and then we can kind of coordinate a time. Yeah.
Did anyone address the edits on it though? I know Bethany and I think most of it.
Let's start checking with each.
And I didn't know like who had the authority to like move stuff around.
Oh, you do, please do. Yeah, I mean, I wrote it, but you can check it. Oh, it was yesterday, okay. I haven't checked it in the past couple days. Sure, okay, let's look over that in the coming days then. Is that something that we want to potentially move forward with releasing? Because if so, I really think we need to do that this week before it loses its 10 minutes. Okay, so maybe let's set a tentative plan to release it on Thursday or Friday at the latest. And so look over the edits tomorrow. I'll look over them, make some tweaks, and then everybody else look over those as well. Okay, this is like, everyone should feel free to make changes and take things out, put things in. Yeah.
Have we talked to anyone at IFC about moving council?
Yes, thank you. That was what I wanted to bring up again. Brainstorm. So I met with the IFC president last week, and he is very much cognizant of some of the shortcomings on IFC's part and has been working extensively for quite some time now to try to address them. So one of the things that I'm really excited about, he's really excited about as well, is that IFC has written up kind of like a checklist how-to guide type thing. It's really expensive though, so I don't want to call it a checklist because it makes it sound really brief, but it's a sort of document containing Title IX procedures, what exactly, it's for fraternity presidents. So what exactly the president should do if someone comes to him with a report of a violation or a complaint. And it's been looked over and signed off on by CARE, Title IX, and UCPD, so it's very comprehensive. There's a lot in it about exactly what the protocol are and who to go to and what sorts of questions to be asking, which stakeholders to be involved. So they're just kind of waiting for final confirmation with that, and that should be released to the president very, very shortly. In addition, he is going to, after our conversation, he's agreed to introduce a bylaw into the IFC constitution that all newly elected fraternity presidents must have some sort of training over this document and additional proceedings within 2 weeks of their election. So this is actually his idea to introduce the 2-week bylaw. I just thought there was a way we could get this training institutionalized, and he really has taken a lot of steps on incorporating fraternity president input and IFC specific input into moving forward from there. And then in terms of coming to council, both him and the panelite president would love to do some sort of a meet and greet of sorts. They weren't sure if they could like require all of the panelite and IFC presidents to come to because there were so many of them and it's hard to coordinate schedules, but if that's something that you are still interested in, I can totally make up a doodle poll and kind of get that disseminated. He's also taking the LSAT with me, so we're both kind of a mess right now, but once that's over, yeah.
Yeah, so that's really exciting. Really good steps, but I still just like have some qualms about like I'm really excited to hear that the leadership is like really invested in taking these steps, but I just still worry a little bit about like rush being so close and like what all that we talked about that we had. I didn't really know how to implement like that almost like bulleted list of demands that we had at the top of the doc. I didn't know how we were implementing that into the statement. But like it would just be, I don't know, I just feel like there needs to be, and I don't know whose hands that falls into. I think it would be the IFC presidents and panel presidents who would like deal with actually doing some sort of like training at Rush or during Rush, and doing all of that, implementing all the steps that we kind of talked about a couple weeks ago. So I would just like to see a little bit more movement on that, and like I would be happy to reach out because I know that you're like have the LSAT going on.
A couple days, yeah.
If there's like any way that I can help out with.
Thank you.
Just because I feel like there, like, you could have like all the training done at the top level, but there can still be so many misconceptions, like, I don't know, just mindsets at a base level where like they just feel like they're being taught to act by their, like, preach that, and like, I don't love that. Like, I don't know if that really makes a lot of changes. Full body. I don't know.
Totally. No, and by reporting back on that, that's by no means me saying, look, we fixed it, it's done. You know, I think I wanted to report back that there was some substantive improvement, and I am impressed by IFC's willingness to cooperate on this. However, I I don't think this even goes remotely far enough to address all of the issues that are underlying. And I also think it's by no means exclusive to Greek life. I mean, these are conversations that we need to continue having. And I think training specific, I think there's a lot more stakeholders that do have to get involved with that than just the presidents. And so they have to reach out to Ofstal and Title IX and CARE, but I think we can do that. You know, we should do that. I can talk to, I actually have good relations with both of the vice presidents of recruitment, so I can reach out to them and see if they'd be willing to put that in their key implementation when we write them down.
Really great to hear though that they are open.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's so much more that can be done, but I think it is refreshing to see initiative being taken, maybe in some places where I might be unexpected. And obviously, in the specific situation, I don't know anything more about the unfolding of the case itself, but if I get the information, I'll pass it along to you.
Can I include something?
Sure.
I think that there should be something about accountability because right now, like the number of sexual assaults that are reported inside of Greek life houses are protected from public knowledge. So if we can have like a public record of how many people are reported being assaulted in frat houses, I think it's really important for like the safety of people who decide to go to these frats.
Yeah, moving forward, I completely agree.
Some things I brought this to like my right to protect director, and the other thing that she suggested was having like asking IFC to like hold a town hall and answer questions about accountability.
They actually should commit to that.
Yeah. Okay. Like add that to the ask of the.
And like mandatory attendance,
Yeah.
the members, not just the leadership.
And it's important that they don't try to rush through like information.
Yeah.
Or like, because like that's also the especially with you do with our listening orientation, so when we rush things, like we talk about assault, talking about all this stuff in like one day, that they need to actually have a town hall that is focused on sexual health and we didn't even put it there, like sexual health, sexually healthy practices and sexual assault, but not allowing them to take on the position that they're under attack, because at the end of the day, like, yeah, drinking parties don't cause this kind of thing. They do produce a culture where these things can happen. So we need to just be cognizant of that. And they should be clear on that too, that it's not an attack on who they are as an organization, but it's about you guys taking a stand and denouncing that kind of behavior. So there is no stand in the organization implicitly or right away.
I think also a lot of what we can do too, in addition to, yes, mandatory trainings are great, but when it's hundreds of people and there's kind of no accountability for involved people attending, I think we can encourage, recognize, and help support. I think we kind of talked about this last time, like smaller scale, more intensive conversations where people are actually really participating and acknowledge that those are happening in some chapters and encourage that more chapters adopt that. I know when George and I spoke with UCC, they were more than happy to help facilitate smaller conversations and events as well as the large ones. But I think sometimes putting a bunch of people in Polypavilion and lecturing at them for an hour versus having two chapters sitting down together in a room and having an honest conversation. So again, there's only so much that we can do in terms of what we can and can't mandate, but I think that when we see those events occurring and when we do see people denouncing such behavior and taking stands, we should recognize it and support it.
Yeah, and speaking on that, I was going to say that, you know, with Campus Safety Alliance, that I'm trying to read through the IDP office in the bylaws, it's actually, Greek life is supposed to be attending these meetings that haven't been happening, frankly, for the last couple of years. So we're definitely trying to like get their involvement on these conversations with Campus Safety Alliance, which we actually do on a monthly basis instead of a quarterly basis. But like if you all, if you all can help us get their involvement, because they've been pretty unresponsive, a lot of the entities we've reached out to, like that would be really great, because I think this, like, I think it's great for like Greek life to be having conversations with each other, but I think they also need to be having those conversations with student body that's impacted by like Greek life. So I think this is a way to do it. So if you all like want to help with that, that would be super great.
And I think other councils as well, not just IFC and handling, there are other Greek councils that I think sometimes we don't always think about, so maybe you could put those included. There is a really awesome thing called Blue and Gold Academy that's first or second week, I believe, of winter quarter. It's like a retreat, and leadership from all Greek councils, so Panoramic and IFC, like the boards themselves, but also the chapter presidents, as well as AGC, LGC, multi-interest, and PhD, all get to go, and I think that's a really special place too, so as they kind of help develop that agenda for that and what sort of things that they're talking about, I think that's a way that we can kind of impact as well what sorts of policy they can implement.
Maybe instead of taking a formal training, because when we do trainings, it's really like, oh, sign in, so we can your attendance.
Yeah.
But I think at this juncture, folks need to like make a commitment to like not do these things. So there should be some form of a contract.
Sure.
Just kind of like, like some form of a contract that everyone is supposed to like sign, dedicating themselves and their conduct to not having these kinds of infractions and violations. Because here's the thing, regardless of what USAC or even UCLA as a school does or cannot do provided to their jurisdiction, these are things that affect people's lives like forever and indefinitely. And they have to go through all kinds of healing therapy to overcome them. So beyond just having them sign a proof of attendance, it's important that we have them sign these contracts so that way they know, they're fully aware of what they're signing and what they're engaging in. And that can be extended to not only just Greek life in general, but specifically in this case, but even all student leaders.
Yeah. I would definitely like to see more Title IX trainings for other student leaders as well.
And that's something that we can include in this letter, but then also we can talk. Let me see, like, how feasible is that? And is that violating the right to and we're talking in regards to like forming a contract in which student leaders and Greek members and affiliates sign in like the stating that they would not engage in the second degree. Denouncing it, but also it could maybe be a pledge, like a pledge or something.
It would work if it came from within the Greek community, so it wasn't being forced on them by administration, but if it were something that the students wanted to implement themselves, there wouldn't be any reason that we would have a problem with it. It would not be something that would necessarily result in any kind of additional university charges if there was a violation. But it might be something that within the Greek judicial bodies led to some sort of internal sanctioning if there were a violation.
What we can do maybe is perhaps, if they seem as down as they are projecting themselves to be, is to offer this as a suggestion. Because National Panhellenic Council has a way of doing things, and Latino Greek Organization Council has one, and then like of course IFC. And like they all have a way of what they're going on, so they're actually about like the actual commitment beyond the statement, and this is something that we can offer to them. But I guess because Robert and I both are on the campus safety alliance that you're trying to review, because I also have to know too. So like, what does that look like in terms of accountability to the association, right? Because administratively, like you guys have the power, but I don't even know like how does like that even work?
Well, the university does not have asked students to sign pledges that they're going to adhere to our policies. It's a given that we expect students to familiarize themselves with the policies and comply with them, and there are ramifications when there's a violation, but we don't hand out an honor code pledge and ask everyone to sign it on admission. So we wouldn't begin asking just some students to sign a pledge saying, I'm going to be sure to honor these particular policies. We need to treat our students equitably, and it would be something that it would have to be everyone. It's just at this point not our practice to ask people to sign pledging to comply with policy. It is, though, an expectation, but there's nothing that would prevent any group of students from voluntarily creating and signing such a pledge. It's just that when it comes to policy violations, the university has to rely on the underlying policy, not the statement that they signed that they then went back on. But again, it doesn't mean that whatever the organization is, if it's done by an organization, that organization could potentially have consequences for someone's either failing to sign a pledge of some sort or signing and then not complying with their pledge.
Yeah, it's also important to keep in mind too, the particularity of that, like the fraternity sorority infrastructure too, like we are subsidiaries of a national chapter, and so there is some accountability that happens within the chapter and procedures within that unfortunately individual schools have limited ability to influence, which I think does complicate things sometimes, but I don't know, I mean, there is IFC, there's also national IFC, there's a national, there's 128 pods, you know what I mean? So there's, and on top of that as well, going on, I really like the idea of some sort of pledge. I just don't think it's necessarily something that maybe we can mandate, but I think that goes back to encouraging these sorts of events and conversations when they do take place. Not keeping like my chapter, but there is a nationwide program between API and SIGEP every year called I Took an Oath, and every year like API and SIGEP have this event that I think we talked about last time, and we do sign like a pledge and an oath, and it's like a nationally mandatory event between all schools that have those two chapters. And so again, there's limited the ability that that can actually be practically enforced, but having sorts of voluntary pledges or encouraging students to come to events that we hold that have that, or recognizing great chapters that do that. I don't know. It's hard to walk that line between, I would love to mandate all of these things, it's just there's only so much to do, you know. Did you want to say something, Robert?
No, I was addressed.
Okay. Anyone want to add anything?
I would just add, there's two interrelated but distinct issues.
Yeah.
There's the issues of compliance with the policies regarding sexual violence. There's also issues around when one becomes aware, reporting or not reporting, and or encouraging or discouraging reporting. The Greek leaders are not mandated reporters. They're voluntary leadership roles, not university employee positions. So they're not required to report to Title IX when they become aware that there's an allegation. That doesn't mean they're prohibited from reporting though. And so one area that might be explored is the idea of voluntarily putting themselves in the position that if they become aware of an allegation, they would report to Title IX rather than handling it internally. That might be something worth pursuing in these ongoing conversations you're having.
Absolutely.
Can we put that in a statement to encouragement? That it's like on record that this is something that we want, like we encourage you to engage with the Title IX office, because at the end of the day, like everyone does have like their specific chapters that are branched across universities, but you're specifically at UCLA's chapter. So, all right, you said
I have like explored the option of mandatory reporting, and that's not, we can't mandate the reporters, but within the document that exists, there is a lot of questions about should you report this to Title IX? Can you report this to Title IX? How do you do that? Generally, from my understanding, they try to pursue survivor-centric courses of action. And so if the survivor tells the president that he or she doesn't want to file a report, then generally the president complies with that report. I think whether, like, how we feel about that personally is up for debate, but that can be included in the document to highly encourage reporting, but I don't think there's a way that we can mandate it. That makes sense. But I mean, yeah. Sure. I kind of ended up being a longer conversation than just a report, but I'm glad, and this conversation needs to be ongoing. A quick update, which I think is interesting and relevant to that, is that the National or the North American Interfraternity Conference, so like all IFCs, now have a new policy that literally just came out at 7 p.m. today, that they are no longer allowing hard alcohol at fraternity houses that are part of the National Interfraternity Conference. So if you're curious, that's already UCLA policy per the new rules that hard alcohol is no longer going to be served in fraternity houses, but now it is a nationwide policy. That literally came out tonight. The IFC president coincidentally just sent it. Okay. So let's continue the conversation, but again, if it seems like I'm shooting anything down, that's not my intention, it's just, I don't want us to expect that we can like require them to do all of these things that I wish we could require them to do, but being in the system and understanding what I know from people in leadership is just only, we want to cultivate a positive, encouraging relationship with them and not us coming in and trying to force them to do a bunch of things and not listening to us at all. Does that make sense? Okay, anyway, I'm gonna stop talking now. Robert, welcome back.
Thank you. I was just going to say, once again, to the Campus Safety Alliance, I know a lot of other offices, like I said, I think I've given this update every meeting, care a lot about safety on campus, and obviously these issues just grow as we get closer to the school year and everything. So if any of you all want to talk about how you can get involved, since we're completely restructuring it and everything, if you want to go to the meetings every month and input, I know almost all of our offices have some sort of safety on campus. We definitely would encourage that, and definitely encourage, like, continued and growing dialogue. So definitely any way that we can work together with you all would be really appreciated. Moving on beyond that, with obviously good people. George and I did a tour of the space today, and it went really well. I haven't actually seen it in 3 months, so previously 3 months ago, or 2 months ago, it was not at all renovated. Since then, Recreation has covered about $20,000 worth of renovations for the space. They completely covered the wood in there with sheet metal, so it can be fire compliant. They added new fire alarms. They added, we're getting omni-locks on the doors. It's been completely coated in white paint, so the rooms will can paint it. And we actually ordered about $7,000 of equipment that's sitting in there, along with an iPad and other things for voluntary reporting, so we can know what students' needs are. Beyond that, moving forward, and this is something that I could definitely use advice from other council members and your all's opinions, is long-term sustainability of this. Definitely ideas that we're coming across our referendum or volunteer-based programming within the space. With the referendum, obviously, we are thinking about hiring somebody that can work in the permanent space and also transfer donations to the space as we have events operating across campus. But we also want to balance that with not counteracting the original intention, because obviously if you're charging students in needs for a referendum for something that has to do with basic needs, it's kind of taking away the purpose. So we're kind of like trying to balance those things about charging students more money for something that's designed for students to save money and to make UCLA more affordable for all students. So if you all have any opinions on that, or any thoughts on that, if you want to get involved in that, or if you have any other solutions for how we can make sure this is like long-term sustainable beyond just a student organization, I would really appreciate that, because that's really what we're setting our sights on in the future. Beyond that, the space should be open by week 2 or 3 of fall quarter. We're going to be releasing volunteer applications coming up, and also the student org should be flyering at the enormous activities fair, and we should be creating a board for that that's separate from USAC that really handles all the volunteer-based work going on in the space and with the bins. Also, we stopped taking donations for the summer. We have too many now. They're literally overflowing outside my door, and in my office, and everywhere. So if people are asking, which they probably are because they've been messaging me, just tell them that we're not doing it until the beginning of fall quarter again when the space is actually open. So that's that. If you'll have any questions with that, if you want to see the space, definitely just let me know. Beyond that, we released our internship applications this past week alongside OP. So if you all have any particular people that might be interested in the affairs of IVP, working with liaisoning to student boards, administration, operations of campus, how to run council, definitely send them our way, because we really do want to have a really successful internship program, especially since we haven't for the past few years. So if any of you all have any people who can come to us, just please let them know, and we can get in touch with my directors for that. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, sorry, go for it. I was just gonna put this on everyone's radar in terms of campus safety. I got this message in my sorority group chat. Hey y'all, for those of you for CSESH, particularly those who live on Kelton or who will during the school year, be really careful walking around at night. Make sure all your doors and windows are locked. Last night, a guy came into my room in my apartment, and my sister and I woke up to him standing over her. The police came, and apparently it happens pretty frequently in this area. So went home to be aware and be safe, and then a couple of girls chimed in after that.
Did you say it was Kelton or Fear?
They did say the cross street, just Kelton. And then a couple of girls, including myself, have been followed home around nighttime. So the ongoings of campus and apartment side should probably be things that we're up to date on and making sure we're doing what we can. Everybody seems. I feel like having you all here on Tuesday nights, so Tuesday. Oh yeah, I was gonna say on the internship thing, my internship directors should have been in contact with your internship directors if you provided their names about the results of the entrance form. I know they've been talking to Kyle, yeah. So hopefully you've been in contact with your directors as well. If not, let me know. They're really just awesome, so hopefully. Okay, anyway, sorry, another digression. Next on the agenda is back.
Hello?
Hey.
Okay. So hi everyone. I've been working on appointments right now, and we're definitely going to be extending our applications to a rolling basis just so that we have enough people applying to the positions. And right now we're just looking at the applications that we have gotten before the deadline. So hopefully we'll be bringing a couple of appointments in the next week forward. And second update is our office is currently working on making some bylaw changes to TGIF. And Jessica has been a great help with that as well. So that will also be coming up in the following weeks. And that's it.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay. Next is CEC.
Yeah, so we dropped the Burn teaser site yesterday at 10 a.m. If you haven't seen it yet, you should check it out. It's really great. Love the team did a great job, and we'll be releasing the lineup next week. Opener will be released on Friday, and then we're going to be releasing our middle act and our headliner. We're still kind of deciding how we can stagger it, but everyone will be released by next Wednesday. So that's really exciting. There's been a little bit of, we had a little bit of difficulties with getting the EAF form sent out. So if you haven't received it yet, I'm really sorry. The CAC and CUC collaborative EAF committee has been working really hard to try to get it sent out, but unfortunately our sole advisor had something come up with a family emergency. So we needed him to send it out to all sole registered orgs. So there was nothing to do, like our hands were tied. But if anybody's asking questions about it, I've been getting a million questions, but just rest assured that you will receive the email and have the form to sign up. Like, we're still having AF. It's just, yeah, it was unfortunate that the form didn't get sent out. But so we're going to do a really neighborhood for that to get everybody to ensure that we have many orgs there as well as we represent there. And when I last checked with the committee on that, they had turned back. Our advisor is now back on campus, and they were going to be sending it out either tonight or tomorrow morning. So I'm not sure. I don't know if I was receiving email. Hopefully I received email. You got an email. Okay. So then they sent it out tonight. So that's really cool. That's the update. Yeah. So that's all I have for CC.
Great. Thank you so much. Yes. If there are groups that have any questions, like they want to make a club that's not made yet, but also wants to potentially be there, is there time for them to charter a club and then get into to get registered with someone?
I don't know if there's time because it's during 0 week. But I could look into what the requirements are or how they do that for the summer. If you want to forward me the emails, I can put them in contact with or just try to see if it would be feasible. Because of course we want them there. So yeah, just forward them.
Okay. Next up is SWC.
So not too much on SWC. We have pretty much planned Health Coming, which is our annual week 1 Wednesday sort of recruitment period for all of our committees. It's the time for my board directors to kind of show off what they do in their committees and recruit all the freshmen and all new people that want to be a part of a committee in SWC. So yeah, finalizing my campus committee appointment. And then also, I mean, I'll be talking about this later in the agenda, but we're hoping to add farmers market as an official sponsored group under SWC. As you might know, some of you might know, PAC is currently the only affiliate of SWC. And we kind of went over the language on what an affiliate actually means, and the farmers market would kind of be more than just an affiliate, but less than a committee. So they're going to be considered a sponsored group. But in the past, we've had E3 as an affiliate, and then farmers market used to be under E3, and then realized that they want to be part of a larger organization like SWC. I'll have, I mean, when we talk about that more in depth later on in the agenda, I'll have you all read the proposal that was sent out today. So it's kind of late, so I'll give you a few minutes to do that. But yeah, that's pretty much all from me. Any questions? Okay, cool.
Thank you. Next is AAC, and she's going to do her presentation on ASRF and travel money fund as well.
Hello everyone. Okay, so as you know, the Academic Affairs Commission has about two main funding sources that we have available to students. One that kind of focuses on their academic success and retention, but also like the promotion of resources. And then secondly, the travel grant mini fund, which students can kind of use to like travel and lodge where they need to be. This is most notably and most popularly used for like conferences. We'll kind of go over the eligibility of this fund, as well as like the deadlines, the requirements, and things of that nature, all of which were established by referendum. So the academic success referendum that was passed in 1993, and then travel grant mini fund that was a new addition as a result of the social justice referendum. Okay, so the eligibility, so this one is specifically for the travel grant mini fund. This one is going to be available to students both on an individual and a student organization basis. For individuals, students have to be enrolled at least 8 course points at a time, have a GPA of 2.0 or greater, and not be on active probation. As far as an organization, you basically need to have a registered organization within the sole office that has about 3 signatories. Okay, and that's that. For event eligibility, so this is things to kind of think about in regards to what would the travel grant be available for. And so one of those things are like large gatherings of organized groups. So this can be for research, presenting and research at a university or company, symposiums, or students field of study, academic and leadership-based conferences, graduate and professional school information sessions, graduate and professional school interviews, and promotion of academic success. This doesn't cover the cost of like student advocacy or lobbying efforts, but like students can go to the Burden Defenders Grant. All of these details are also will be updated and put down on the USAC website as we go close to the school year. And basically the grant organization mission statement, and then grants only but transportation, lodging, and registration fees. For lodging to be paid, the state policy requires that the location be at least 50 miles away from campus. Okay, these are just going into the guidelines. So guidelines really deal with how, like, what are you going to do in order to get like funding, and what can you expect from us as an allocation. So that's going to be inclusive of like not having extraneous expenditures. Your funding can be forfeited if that's the application and the requirements are incomplete. The funding is for USAC students only, so if you're not a student, then that can't be used. It's specifically for the travel grant mini fund because we only have a certain amount for the annual year. We try to disperse it amongst every single quarter. So funds cannot be used retroactively. Funding is also used, can be refused if deadlines are not met. And in terms of traveling, it's going to be capped at $500 per person. Funding will be administered to the organizing delegation leader, limited to costs and associated with registration and levy. All requisition forms must be submitted like Friday of week 10 to our funding chair and funding director in the office. So we also have the mailbox that will be like posted on the document that's for the funding. So students know exactly where the mailbox is. Some students have opted last year to like slide the applications and requisitions like under the door. But ideally people like and then grants for elder enlargement our gas reimbursement always, like airfare expenditures are capped at $400 per person. Ground transportations are capped at $100 total. Lodging expenditures are capped at $150 per night and should accommodate all the individuals traveling. Gas reimbursement expenditure is a discretionary to use, and the vehicle needs to be under the ownership of one of the students going to the event. No rental car will be covered by the applicant if there's mentioned travel grant from the fund. And that's just because, like, for instance, the price that you really give up the car from can like raise from like what is actually, what you actually estimate, rather than the insurance, gas, and things of that nature. And then also if you're receiving money from like other like departments or sources, like your total funding cannot like exceed your total expenses. So whatever you actually need is what will account for. And just like the plan item, so again, we talked about, like, you don't even pay for your meals if you're going to a particular conference, but it's only $50 per person per day. And then like meals for like 1 day trips cannot be subsidized. So these are for folks who kind of have to go to a conference for like 3 or 4 days, kind of keep in mind. Okay, the application requirements, basically you want to at least submit in the travel management fund application 2 weeks before the event, so we can ensure that like everything is taken care of in regards to the decision form, whether it be a PO, purchase order, letter, cash advance check. They must submit supporting documentation with their application where appropriate, including but not limited to hotel booking, travel book, itinerary, agenda, breakdown of those sponsorships, and lease fees. And these are all just things that are required if you're trying to fill out a requisition form for any form of travel or retreat, basically. So that's just making sure that we have to get work is done for already when we fill in the requisitions for them. Any supporting documentation to the Undersecretary of the Travel Grant Relief Fund must be submitted prior to the event. So this is just any updated information, and ideally, we wanted to make sure that everything is like accounted for. So if they don't do this, these costs are going to be taken into consideration when they apply for it again. That's another thing, applying for it again. That's something that's really good to all students and student accommodation groups. Applications that need to define for representatives will be approved on a first-come, first-served basis. Again, because we have a limited amount of funds, we do want to make sure that the people, as many applicants are satisfied as possible. However, it is on a first-come, first-served basis. And all receipts and proof of payments must be submitted for a week of the applicant's return in order to be reimbursed. All right, so this is like if they got approved for a certain amount of money, right? And this is before. That's how we do it within this non-attractive. So if you got approved for a certain amount of allocation, but the time in which we're going to allocate to you is not going to be appropriate or whatever the case may be, then there's an emergency of like reimbursement. That's only if we've allocated the money for the event or the past. By applying the applicant agrees to writing a 200 to 500 word testimonial. The testimonial must include the mission, the background of the organization, their experience, and what they accomplished during this travel experience. And just some things, so basically we have a maximum fund that can be allocated like 5 cents per quarter. Each application is considered for the maximum funds depending on the care. And basically the application itself is reviewed, but it's not limited to like quality of response, completeness, application, and intentionality of the event. So usually, and again, they're basically doing the work, not work for us, but in regards to like how all the things that would require SGA for us to fulfill in order to get them their money. So they would need to write about like the statement of purpose, why do they need to go to this event, what are they trying to accomplish, and then also reflect back. And we'll turn those evaluations. So more than okay, I see there's yeah, keep going. Oh, what are those deadlines? Yeah. So these are the projected deadlines for last year. I'll do them trying to be a little bit more available or like sooner for students this year, since students are actually really excited about the travel grant mini fund, and especially like at the start of the school year. So ideally they've been like done like Friday, fall quarter, which is like the end, like so what these all represent are really just like the periods in which like they'll be dedicated, or the due date. But we're going to change that up so that it's a big section of the actual report. So it'll be from like weeks like 2 to 6, so like 1 to like 7 in the elementary quarter. And spring quarter is really hectic for SGA, so we're going to make this like as available as possible. Okay, and then award the payment. So basically, a travel guide director kind of just handles the disbursement and allocation. And then this is a projected amount total that we'll have available for the year. Now, this won't be available to the applicants per se, but just for you guys for your information as USAC council members. There's an excess of funds, but those funds will just be all granted in the next quarter. And yes. Now we're going to go to the academic success referendum. This one is basically, this is a little bit more detailed of the funding information. And so this one is available to student organizations, revenue requests to register, so, and individuals as well, with the support of a faculty advisor or departmental sponsor. So any individual supported like the advisor, the director, so these are all the people who need to sponsor you in your application. Because what will come with the academic success referendum application is a goal, an objective, the budgeted narrative. It's a pretty extensive application. So it not only will the students have to completely outline what the purpose is, they will actually have to have a signatory, a person of some particular power to sign up for this. The only thing, the difference between ASRF and the travel grant fund is that it does not fund it like food and travel. So this is specific for like programming that is for use of the students at UCLA. Okay, and so yeah, it's a type proposal. So basically like the big things is just basically an undergraduate student representative, which will most likely be me as AC, a statement of purpose, goals, objectives, the projected target population, an expected audience, the proposed program schedule, an itemized program budget, and budget justification, facility and equipment costs. So like ASR can probably help them go to LST support house if they want to do like a voter registration town hall or something of that nature. Then we'll do a representative signature, a signature of organizations and leadership and engagement, a faculty advisor. The proposal must be submitted at least 4 days prior to the scheduled programming. Then the faculty organization shall be required to meet with the student organizations and leadership and faculty advisor prior to the proposal submission with the res life prior to the proposal submission deadline. Or if this is like a res life program or organization that decides they want to do this on the Hill, they would have to meet like a res life director or assistant director prior to submitting the proposal. All allocations will be made in regards to the viewpoint and based solely on the viewpoint neutral criteria. Okay. So this is basically like the distribution of the funds, like the funds that are allocated. So one, in accepting the ASR funds, an individual or organization accepts the agreement to spend the allocated money in accordance with like USAC bylaws. The existing requisition must be completed before any funds are committed or spent. The requisition must contain the signatures of the following persons: the official representative of the organization or program, the finance chair, which would be our director, myself as active affairs commissioner, and then Viacom, so Ryan, okay? Then the transfer of the funds between the line items are permitted so long as we do not exceed 10% of the group's allocation. So just something to keep in mind. So the approval of our finance chair and amounts of the larger amounts needs to be approved by form of the academic success referendum chair. So then SGA will be informing of the allocations. They will be responsible for accounting for ASRF allocations according to specific lines as submitted as the chair. SGA will also assist them in preparing the periodic and like year-end financial reports. Individuals and organizations shall be notified of ASRF allocations by email, which will come directly from AAC's director. Reimbursement for expenditures may not be made retroactively. The amount of funding and student groups may receive is determined by their need and is dependent on the submission of accurate documentation that demonstrates that the money will go directly to the event and will promote academic success of UCLA students. Okay, let's see here. This is another thing too. So not only do students have a pretty extensive application, but the evaluation form is like really important in terms of what they need to complete. So again, it's the name of the program, the date, location, the evaluation data, programming funds that were received, the programming funds that were spent, because if they're getting purchase orders or things of that nature, you may not have to use them for expenditure. Whether the program achieved its goals or a reflection piece, the number of UCLA students in attendance, the cost per UCLA student, if it was something that they decide to add, or rather like the food or things of that nature. Ratings of effectiveness of the program, so what they'll need to do is actually do an evaluation that the students would have to complete. And it's suggested changes if any for the future, and then the signature of the program organization. For the evaluations, we'll send copies of advertising flyers and handouts passed out at the event. The evaluation should also include a summary of audience questionnaires, originals thereof, and a few clippings of the event. Each funded organization must submit an evaluation within 2 weeks of the program, and failure to do so basically will kind of render them ineligible for funds moving forward. The evaluation form is this is just an example of the evaluation form. The student organizations would be asked to complete, which, like, if they have to do the scale of how effective the event was, we are calling upon them to actually ask the constituency and the audience those facts. And that's basically it. So just a brief synopsis of the presentation that I just put forward was one of the travel grant mini fund that basically gives student organizations and individuals the ability to travel to conferences, graduate professional interviews, or info sessions, as well as retreats and things of that nature. Academic success with fund is specifically geared towards academic success of students here at USAC's campus, events like which can be put on by organizations as well as individuals. Are there any questions? Thank you so much for presenting. If I'm correct, should conclude all of our funding body presentations this summer, which is really exciting. Anything further in your report? Yes, so actually, the Academic Affairs Commission given an appointment to the steering committee on the online teaching and learning. Thank you, Claire, for passing that, because that's something that really deals with our target focus. So basically, it's actually this organization, not so much, but this committee within the Academic Senate that kind of just works on like instructional technology, and basically making sure that like we have like course formats that are really helpful for students. They meet about 4 times a year. And the appointment that I've chosen has been Bonnie Riley. She's a student who's worked within the ASCCA has worked within the ASCCA and done many different like initiatives within the Academic Senate last year. And I felt like she would be a perfect candidate considering this like quick turnaround. So the Office of Vice Chancellor Gordon actually needed to have the student like appointee be like emailed to them by today. So we kind of discussed, Claire and I kind of discussed it over the weekend, and that's the appointment. Cool. And I also have her, since they only meet only 4 times a year, I'll have her come before council giving me background. And I'll include her section in my office report.
Yeah, this is an informal appointment of sorts, I guess. And they did give us a pretty quick turnaround. So thank you, Nadira, for making that. Okay, and our last officer member report is CAC.
I basically have all the same updates as Allie, except CAC applications are coming out, let me figure, Wednesday the 5th.
Awesome, thank you. And last but not least, our administrative matters.
I do have another panel opportunity for anybody that is interested in this extension again, but it's a little bit different theme. This is more general about student leadership on campus, and so they're looking for 3 students to join the panel for about an hour. It's going to be on it's Tuesday, September 11th at 3:30 in Cowell Commons. So if anybody's interested, or if you want to pass it on to anybody in your staff that might be interested in participating in a panel, it's for extension. It will also be students from China, and they're just talking about, student leadership at UCLA in a broader sense. So really, I feel like anybody within your offices could certainly speak to that.
So we'd be answering questions, or we'd be talking?
Yeah, so usually how they format it is someone will kind of lead the panel discussion and pose a question to the panel, and then you take turns sort of giving your own perspective on it. So I imagine it would be similar. It probably won't be as many questions, it's only an hour. It's pretty short for a panel. So it'll probably just be questions focused on like your experience as a student leader on campus. And then they will be providing an honor in $50 for anybody who participates. So if you are interested, or if you have somebody on your staff interested, you can send me the names this week of who wants to participate, so you can forward those to extension and you can coordinate for the honorarium piece of it. And again, that's Tuesday, September 11th at 3:30 in Cobell Commons.
That's it. Thank you. All right. With that, we will move into contingency. Ryan.
Hello.
Hi, Ryan.
Can y'all hear me right now? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So this week there were 8 applications. None came from any USAC offices. The total required was $5,881.95. The total requested was $4,599.91. And the total recommended was $2,675.
Any questions about contingency, or is there a motion on the table? George?
A motion to approve contingency.
You just say like this amount of dollars to non-USAC entity.
I motion to approve $2,676, is that correct? $75.
Thank you, Robert, seconds. Okay. Vocal roll call, IVP.
Yes.
EVP?
Yes.
Chad Rep 2?
Yes.
AAC? CEC?
Yes.
CAC?
Yeah.
BAC?
Yes.
SWC?
Yes.
TSR?
Yes.
Great, by a vote of 9 to 0, the motion passes, and the contingency program funding of $2,575 is approved. Okay, next on the agenda is old business. So as you'll hopefully remember from last meeting, we had presentations by JB and by George's finance director, yes, regarding the Bruin Advocacy Grants and the SWC Programming Fund. So right now, we're just going to take a consent item vote, as we've been doing for all the other funding bodies. I'll just ask if there's any opposition. If there is, then we'll proceed to a discussion and an action item vote. If there's not, then it will pass by consent. So before we get started, are there any questions, comments, concerns for George and or Jamie about these two funding bodies?
Just a note for the stuff that I had to fix some typos.
Good.
And then the only other thing that I added was just a short, like a little phrase for state advocacy that included UCOG frequency meetings under that advocacy.
Okay. So let's start with Bruin Advocacy Grant funding, alphabetical order. Is there any opposition to the Bruin Advocacy Grant funding guidelines presented at last meeting? I'm gonna ask her online. All right, it appears not. So by consent, the Bruin Advocacy Grant funding guidelines are approved for the year. Thank you. Okay, secondly, is there any opposition to the SWC Programming Fund guidelines? George, do you have anything you want to add on those? Okay. Any opposition? We'll just give our online friends a chance to respond. All right. Then the SWC Programming Fund guidelines also pass by consent. Thank you. Okay, new business, we already did contingency, so first is SBC bylaw change proposal.
Yeah. So, I've never done something like this before, this is exciting. Okay, cool, so, I mean, as you can see here, if you haven't read it yet, we are, in SWC adopting new language for the bylaws to, instead of 10th week of spring quarter, allow it to be extended to the first week of fall quarter, and it being, the allowing of council to have an affiliate or some sort of sponsor group, to add it to a commission. So since we were installed 10th week of spring quarter, I would see it being kind of necessary for us to have a little bit more time than just a week for us to make any bylaw changes, because at that time I had no idea I was going to be making this change. So I think first week of fall quarter could be beneficial for future commissions or anyone who adopts affiliates. Because I mean, if this ever happens ever again, getting adopted simply in spring quarter, that would be kind of crappy for someone to have to go through this again. So I'm kind of changing the bylaw. And then basically the other one that I'm changing is to add the official link for Farmers Market at UCLA becoming an actual sponsor group under our list of committees and affiliates.
Can you explain just the difference between committee, sponsored group, and affiliate?
Yeah. Okay, so committee, has a director that is officially on the executive board of SWC, and everything that a committee does, we created in the Student Wellness Commission itself. And that's the original 12 committees that we've had for years now. Last year, 2 years ago, we adopted Brewing Necessities as one of the newer committees on SWC, and in turn got rid of AIDS awareness. So we're still at the 12 committee number. And then PAC, Pediatric AIDS Coalition, they are an affiliate of SWC, so basically they're under SWC for liability agreements, ASUCLA sort of benefits. And then a sponsored group would be a little bit more than affiliate and less than a committee. So a sponsored group would be receiving direct funds and direct oversight from SWC, although they would have their own directors and committee. So,
are we striking the Pediatric AIDS Coalition?
No, we're not striking that. We're striking the number that it is XIII and making XIII a sponsored group. That's really it. It's just to make it official. Yeah.
So if I can just add a little clarity from sort of the ASUCLA or USAC perspective on what the difference is. In a sense, I think maybe it's important to see some of these distinctions as being certain structural things in the way the relationship plays, the degree to which there's a body that has some vote and then brings information to the commissioner. Just sort of certain structural things. But I mean, in the end, there isn't a distinction. You're either part of the body or not part of it, and there may be certain details of how that interaction occurs. But I want us to be clear that if you're in, you're in, and that has ramifications in terms of you can't be in just for liability. You're in for control and liability and all of the things that go with that. I think that there can be distinctions that try to draw out how the oversight occurs. But it's important to recognize that, when we're taking on any kind of group, we're taking on responsibility. And liability is just an aspect of responsibility. But there isn't really a way to, make distinctions within that. So I think sometimes it's important to characterize methodologies behind that relate to oversight and the way the groups, interact and sort of maybe it's a way of giving a special form of respect. But I think we need to recognize that, if you're in, and that's responsibility. Liability is an aspect of responsibility. But, so when we vote these things, we just need to realize, it's USA taking responsibility. I mean, I think, in support of this notion, I think, having brought this farmers market to campus a number of years ago, I think it's been a very important thing to the student body, and I think it's great that SWC is taking it under its wing as a happy marriage to make sure that this continues to be available to this community. Because without it, it's got to be, it's a complicated thing. It's got to be in somebody's administrative wing. So I think it's great that we're making that change. But just for the sake of the record, in terms of what these things mean, that's all I'm driving at.
Yeah, and if you all had a chance to sort of read over, it's kind of long, a little bit long. Read over the actual proposal from Farmers Market. She sent that to me this morning, and I did some final edits for it and sent it to Robert. But it's not super long. You want to just take a look over it for 2 minutes before we vote?
Sure. The attachment that Robert sent. Oh, this is a new one to it.
I forwarded it. Sorry, George.
Sorry, George, this is pretty late. Maybe I'm tired. Will you explain a little bit about electronic benefit transfer? What's the situation?
Oh, yeah, so EBT. So basically, for them to be able to use EBT in terms of like when students would use EBT to pay for goods, usually like low-income students, they can't do that yet because they aren't able to obtain their own tax ID. And for them to do that, they have to be under a commission.
Okay, so this will help streamline that?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is basically their way of saying that they need sort of help in terms of funds, and then help in terms of, they're going to be actually partnering with Green Necessities too, because Green Necessities also wanted to help on this, one of our committees.
Mm-hmm. So just it's an oversight for them to be able to get this EBT?
Yeah, essentially, yes.
If I could just comment on that subject also. It's a complicated thing, EBT, and so I think we don't necessarily have any final commitments, just because it's, in order to enable it at all, they've got to be in some kind of a body other than being a student group. It really won't be able to work because it's a big governmental program. ASUCLA certainly wants to support that because it can be critical to healthy issues, not just eating. So, but it is complicated. So we're working with them. I just want to be clear that it isn't necessarily a commitment that that will occur, it probably will occur, but it'll be a mutual, we'll work it out mutually. We've had a number of discussions with them about that.
Yeah, so this is basically just permission for them to work with us to do that.
Okay, and EBT is a program that low students can, okay.
Used to be food stamps, now it's cards.
Okay. Any further questions for George? Have everyone had a chance to read over the proposal? Okay, if not, we will need a motion to approve the SWC bylaw change.
I move to approve, or I motion to approve this.
Thank you, Ali. Is there a second? Bella, okay. Go for roll call vote beginning with IB.
Yes.
UB? General 2?
Yes.
AAC?
Yes.
CEC?
Yes.
CAC?
Yes.
BAC?
Yes.
SUC?
Yes.
TSR?
Yes.
Great, by a vote 9-0-0, the motion passes and the SUC bylaw change is approved. Awesome. Almost done. We need more things. So the next item on the agenda is September meeting scheduling. So this kind of encompasses two parts. The first part, so our next meeting is currently scheduled for September 18th. Unfortunately, that is Yom Kippur. So for those of you who don't know, Yom Kippur is the holiest day of the year for Jews, myself included. It begins at sundown on that Tuesday, and then it will go to an hour after sundown on that Wednesday, and it's customary for those of us who are observing to fast for those full 26 hours and to attend services the evening before, the morning of, and the evening of as well. So I personally will be fasting / in services during the time of our normal council meeting. So I was wondering if it would be all right with you to potentially reschedule Tuesday's meeting for Monday at the same time. I'm trying to check that everybody's available. We have it kind of really on hold. Not only is this just like me wanting to be present and be able to facilitate this meeting and be there, but it's also to ensure that any other Jewish students who are observing the holiday who wanted to come, make public comment, participate in our meetings, or just to know that USAC would alter its meeting schedule around the holiest day of our year. I think that really is a gesture of respect. So again, I mean, if y'all aren't comfortable moving it, then I would just not be present and Robert will chair, which is fine, but I think just out of respect for the Jewish community, and so I can attend a meeting that doesn't conflict with my religious observances, I would really appreciate it if y'all would consider moving it. So I just put it on here as a consent item, and I would have to call a special meeting, but I can call that at any time. It would be the exact same structure in this room, 7 p.m. same time. Does it sound like enough people could meet Monday? Let me put it in a group meet and I'll just have everybody that can make it like it. But are we okay with that? Yes. I really appreciate that. Let me just like this. If all I do is text like this, it's great. Okay, so I just put it in a grouping, so if you all can just like it when you get a chance, just to confirm that we'll have a quorum. But thank you, I really appreciate that. Great. Okay, so currently, I think we already have 7 people that can go, hopefully we can find an 8th. So if it's all right by you, we will have, pass by consent that we'll move our 9:18 meeting to 9:17. Okay? And then going off of that, at some point we do need to return to having regular weekly meetings. So I would like to propose that this 9:17 meeting marks the beginning of weekly meetings. Obviously, if this is the only time we'll be on Monday, it would move to the following Tuesday, which is the 25th. Thank you, I can do that. And we would go back to the same rules for the 10th. Is 10 standard quorum? Yes? Yes? Okay. 10 people will be quorum. We won't have electronic alternatives. Physical presence will be required for all council members unless there's exceptions that can be made, of course. So we'll go back to the traditional USAC meeting guidelines following that meeting. Is there any opposition to that? So we would start going to weekly meetings, I guess that week of the 25th.
I think that's week 0.
Yeah.
And I think that's traditional.
Yeah.
Has happened in the past.
Gotcha.
Just want to make sure there's no brew and bash related activities happening that day that would conflict with the meeting.
That Tuesday?
Yeah, that is, yeah, it's not, I mean, Rubash is on Monday, so they should be wrapped up, but that is, I should be able to be there. I mean, it didn't go that late.
Right.
But just if there's anything that needs to be, I'll look into that.
Yeah. We have my recruitment, but I got out of it first, because I assumed we'd have meetings instead. Thanks for So yeah, I think it just seems like week 0 makes sense for us to start moving through the meeting, and we can check in about how Trooper Welcome's going, Green Dash, all of that.
So regions doing that week.
There is. Okay, so again, unless there's any opposition to that, by consent, we will begin our weekly meetings technically on that 9/17, but our weekly Tuesday meetings will resume on 9/25. So for that 9/17, we'll continue to observe electronic guidelines and whatnot, then from there, 9/25 is when it starts. Cool. Okay. And the last item on the agenda is just from Jessica and I. As you probably know, we did not have an installation ceremony in the spring as is custom due to the unconventional nature of the beginning of our terms. So Jessica and I have been talking about how we can kind of make up for that and do some sort of a celebratory ceremony type thing. Obviously, it wouldn't have the same structure as the outgoing council member introducing the new council member because most of them are not here anymore. But we still want to do some sort of an event, ceremony type thing to recognize our installation. So Jessica, if you want to add on to that.
Sure. So pretty much what I would like to get from you all is your feedback on what date would work the best for you. In the past, installations usually happen on Sunday. If a Saturday works better, we're totally open to that. We have the space available. And really this is for you to invite your friends and family to celebrate your term as a council member. So ideally, I think we want to have this happen the weekend following week 1 or week 2, just to get it out of the way early before everybody gets busy. So if there's a weekend that works better for everybody and for your family and friends to be able to come to campus to celebrate with you all, let me know. If you want to do like an internal poll or something, and just let me know what date works best. That would be great.
I don't want to speak on everyone else's behalf, but I know most organizations or whatever do week 1 or week 2 retreats. So Sunday, like evening-ish would probably work best for, I mean, SWC specifically, because we're doing a retreat weekend. Okay, cool. Are you getting back Sunday?
Yeah, that's the plan. But like week 1 works better. Yeah. We'll do the internal.
Yeah.
We can also do the weekend following week 0, but I just wasn't sure if that was going to be too crazy of a week for you all.
Yeah.
So just figure out what works best for your schedules and we'll go with that. And then sort of the other piece of this is, so generally, since installation happens in the spring quarter when you are all elected, it comes out of that year's budget. So that fiscal year has closed. So now you will be using the money from this current fiscal year, which would traditionally be used for your successors in installation. So when surplus comes around later in fall quarter, that will just be something to consider replenishing that account so that we have funds. And basically it would be taken away from anything because we didn't spend the funds from last year. So you would essentially just be sort of refilling the pot so that we can plan a traditional installation for spring quarter.
So just in terms of like logistically what installation is, it's like someone's going to be introducing us and it's like a dinner or something like that?
Yeah, so normally it is around like lunchtime in the afternoon. So traditionally what happens is the outgoing officer will say a few words about the incoming officer and introduce them, and then you like formally, walk down some stairs and like take your place at this table. So it's kind of like representing the transition of power, sort of, or like transition of role in the office. And then afterward, there's a reception and like lunch type food. So it's usually like an hour and a half or so. And then, the outgoing officers are obviously invited, and they can include family friends. And then the incoming officer is also allowed to invite family and friends, because it's celebrating your incoming as an officer, but it's also for them to celebrate, at the end of the year and their accomplishments. So that's typically how it goes. For this, we were thinking more of, still recognizing you all as the incoming officers, but there wouldn't be sort of a, thoughts from an outgoing officer, like, welcoming you. So we would want to do something different, maybe have a couple different speakers, that sort of thing. So also if you feel really strongly about like a format or something that you'd like to see, let me know. I'm open to feedback. This is kind of, we haven't really done this before, so we're kind of trying to make it still be special and meaningful to you all, so you don't feel like you just didn't get to have anything or get any sort of recognition, because that's fun. This is a major accomplishment, and you do so much work throughout the year. It's nice to kind of start off on a good note and celebrate that. So, yeah, just if you all want to come up with some ideas, send them to me. Hopefully we can get started on that relatively quickly, since it's coming up very soon. And yeah, I mean, if you have a preference for an evening or dinner type reception, that's fine. We can work with that. And typically, all the administrative reps come. Usually, like, Vice Chancellor Gordon will come. There's a few people from student affairs that will attend the ceremony, so hopefully we could also have people come to this as well, and we definitely extend that invitation. So the earlier we can have something set, the better, just so that they have a heads up, and especially if it's a Sunday evening, I don't know if that would be hard for people to get to campus, but.
Since none of the outgoing officers will be there, we're lacking in that part, what's the likelihood that we could get like G-Walk seats?
We can ask. The chancellor's schedule is typically set quite a bit in advance. You're going to be getting an invitation to a breakfast meeting that he will be speaking at in September, October. So you're going to be getting an invitation to a breakfast meeting that's a select group of student leaders by invitation only. It's likely to be the morning of October 5th, in which case the workshop we planned for noon that day will be rescheduled. So there's going to be some information coming to each of you soon about that, but you're going to have an opportunity to have an audience with the chancellor, hear from him, and ask him questions in a relatively small group setting. So if you can't get him to come to this event, at least you're going to get access to him very early into the fall quarter. We could most certainly arrange for either the dean of students, the vice chancellor, another administrator to speak, if that's something that you'd like. So you can also, when you send your thoughts for what the event might look like and when it might happen to Jessica, also send her some names of people you might like to hear from. And
maybe there are local elections you want.
There may be some former USAC members who are still in the UCLA area that could come, or would come, or even still on campus. So you can also think about whether you would want those who might be available invited.
Yeah, so if anyone has any ideas, feel free to email myself or Jessica, and I'll send out a doodle, after the onset about all of this.
What is that again?
You can see it. You're making fun of me because I don't so more about it.
Oh, no, I
It comes up.
I'm sorry. I can really keep track of my schedule.
I just like have to talk about the story. I just said it, everyone's listening. Okay. If that's all, then where's the attendance sheet? Oh, yeah, Joe.
I have one other question, and it's really, I think a question for Robert. USAC retreat, are you planning anything?
So I have two directors, Catherine Shin and Alex Sacato, and I've told them that that's a thing. I told them that that's a thing that we should do. They're still coming up with ideas because they're trying to simultaneously plan my office retreat and that retreat. I think what I told them though, mainly, and my like restriction that I think would be best is obviously to keep it very local and somewhere that's very like accessible, just because I know as we do something that's farther away and longer that it won't be possible. So I basically told them we should confine it probably to like a day thing, maybe an overnight thing, and somewhere within the LA area, definitely. And from there, they're still coming up with ideas. Beyond that, I know that they suggested obviously that we do it as soon as possible, so probably before week 5 of fall quarter. So I'm pushing to get ideas.
That's another one where traditionally your administrative support team are available if you want us to do any kind of presentations. You just tell us what topics and when, where, and how long to talk. We're also available to join you for your dinner if you want us. We will respect what your preferences are. And for all the offices that may be planning retreats, if you're looking at renting a space for retreats, please work with Jessica to make sure that your contracts and everything are written in a way that you're not going to be blamed for damage that may have already occurred to the sites before you arrive, or that may occur after you leave. She's going to be really good at helping you make sure you're using appropriate resources to identify the venues that you want, and then getting the contracts put in place.
If I got some quick questions. So one question I had was the funding for the retreat, for the USAC retreat, where does that come from? Is that just general contingency?
So I think last year there was a line item for the retreat itself, separate from any office budget or any funding allocation. But we probably wanted to talk to the BOM.
I think it's in our administrative overhead account.
Yeah, so I would ask him, and he can tell you how much it is too. It'll have its own account number.
Because one idea we had was like literally just going to like a bougie Airbnb for like a night or something with like a pool or something, and like low-key, like not party, but like chilling there, having fun. So that's like what Redline kind of does with our leadership retreats, GTDs. So yeah, it would be fun.
Also on that note too, in the transition packet links that we sent out, sometime right now when you all started on it, there should be a retreat checklist in there, and it's things that you can look for when you stay at a place. It's basically doing a quick audit of the space to see what's wrong with it, so you can note it and like Dr. Noah was saying, make sure that you're not liable for damage that's already existing, or if something is kind of fragile, or like there's a loose piece of something you accidentally break off,
So
those types of things.
Does that sound fun to you all? Just because like I don't want to like be playing this and like this is what's happening. Like, you know what I mean? Like, would that be fun? Like to go somewhere in like LA somewhere with like a pool, something like that, nice Airbnb. chill?
Yeah, because LA is like.
Okay,
With a good view. Yes.
okay, y'all really have a lot of requests for Saturday. I'll be having to put those filters on. Okay, so I'll like tentatively plan for that until my two directors working on it to plan for that. We can go from there.
It's literally worse comes to worse. I live in Pasadena. It's not a really hill section like Ariel's, but.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, one thing is that it probably, depending on like how much stuff is still available, it probably will be like week 2 or week 3, just to like make sure we have it down the roads where it would get a good place, because like, week 0 and 1 are coming up very soon. So I'll keep in touch with you all about that. Oh, sorry.
No, no worries. All right, any other announcements, questions, comments, concerns? I will adjourn this meeting at 9:28 p.m. Please stay for welcome. Let's have our virtual friends go first. Ryan, do you want to share?
Can someone stop the?
He left. Okay, bye.
Goodbye.